Hey, welcome to Paris Paranormal. We're so glad that you've been able to join in with us because we have got an amazing show for you tonight. And we've got April back finally. We're so glad to have her back.
Praise the Lord, I am
back. Girl. And I was going to say, I'm Terry.
And I'm April.
But now you know that. So anyway, we really do have a very educational and fun night planned tonight. And
our guest tonight is Ron Howes.
Yes.
And he has got an awesome story.
Yes,
He's got
does.
a Facebook page that's Believe in Yourself.
He's also
Yourself?
working with the
PTSD. Yes.
Right, for veterans, and that is like amazing stuff.
Yes.
We love our veterans. Thank you for doing that. We super love our veterans. They're amazing. Where would we be without them?
Oh, I always thank every veteran, anybody I know that's been in the military, and I'm telling you, Ron, thank you for your service.
Yes, thank you so very much. We appreciate that. So you're kind of a Bigfoot enthusiast, and we know that you've had a story that you want to share with us, and I think that's really cool because we're quite familiar with the Bigfoot enigma, and Kevin and I have had an experience in Florida back a few years, so I'd like for you to share with us what's going on with you. If you would, take it away and share with us your experience.
Okay. Well, whenever I was about 13 years old, growing up on a family farm, we had this little bike that I would ride around and just have fun with. And one evening, I was heading up the trail along the fence line back to the woods. And as I was coming down over the other side of the hill into the entry to the woods, I stopped for a moment because just something wasn't feeling right. And I shut the bike off and I looked off into the entrance, and I really couldn't see the whole figure of this. But what I could see was a dark, tall being of some sorts.
Right.
I couldn't get a full facial recognition of what it was. But what I remember seeing was red eyes, 8 feet in the air from where it was. And I was standing there, it growled at me.
That'd be pretty trippy.
At 30 years old, I had no idea what I was looking at. I was just like, nah, not today. I got back on the bike and went back to the house.
Yeah.
And it really intrigued me. And I started asking questions with people, and I was, telling what I saw. Some people wrote me off like, oh, you're just dreaming things, and you didn't see what you think you saw, or they said it was something of devil oriented. One person had.
Most people without knowledge will go right to that. If they really don't understand or have that, like I said, literally the knowledge of what's been going on all around them, they'll go right to the demon thing. I don't know what's up with that.
That's what they did. They went right to hellhound, guarding gates of hell. There must have been a porthole or whatever they thought was there. But I just know that in anything that I've ever seen in the movies or any information that I've learned, that I've never seen anything that large coming from a gate. Mm-hmm. And I was just like, no, this can't be what I saw, And
did you think he was more brown than black or more black than brown?
Well, it was too dark to depict what the color was.
Okay, what time of day was this, or evening? What time of the evening was it?
Well, late evening going into dusk.
Okay, so you were just before dusk. No wonder why you couldn't tell.
So there really wasn't enough light to be able to tell 100%.
Because you hear this, I hear this so much with stories that they're usually like standing by a tree.
Right.
They kind of peek out. Was he kind of doing that? No. He was just in a wide open space?
Yeah.
And they're wide open, blocking the entrance into the woods.
That's just like the one that we saw that was by the trees, but he was probably about 12 feet.
He wanted you to see him.
He did. You were definitely
Yeah.
destined to see that. And there's a reason for that too. You know, there is a reason that you were chosen
Well,
to see that.
I believe that everything in life happens for a
For
reason.
a reason.
Amen.
That's right.
So,
Yeah.
you know, being that happened at my early age, and it started to make me question things that were really out there, it just made me want to learn more.
How did you react when you went home that night, having seen what you saw? And I won't share any of that. I'll let you share everything about what you saw. But
It played over and over in my head.
yeah,
and
weren't you afraid to even like go to bed, thinking that this thing might have followed you?
I mean,
Well,
I'm thinking, did you have to crank your motorcycle and go straight toward
It
it
was
to
his
get
bike,
home?
his
Or did you
bicycle.
flip around? Oh, just on a bicycle.
He was 13.
no,
Well, 13-year-olds
No,
have motorcycles. Or
I
did
was
you
on a
just flip around?
yeah. Well, the funny thing about it was a pull start motor, three-wheeler. So I was like, please start.
Oh. Oh,
So you
Lord,
were
yeah.
on
See,
a
don't fail me
three-wheeler.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
not a bicycle.
And you
I got it.
mentioned it had red eyes.
Yes.
That
That
would
is
be very frightening. Could you see the outline of the eyes and all that, or no? The whole
Well-
body, just the body?
It was more an outline of a figure, and the red eyes and the growl is what I remember.
And the feeling. Because
Yeah, the
when you said that,
Yeah.
I've heard so many people say that they have that feeling.
Right. It's frightening, actually. Yeah.
That was the first time, and it wasn't the last time after that. I've had other experiences through my life after that. You know, just the questions grew in my mind, and I just wanted to get out there and learn more. You know, the more I saw movies and TV shows coming up, and I was just like, wow, you know, there's something going on out there. I want to know what.
Yeah.
And just something that we'll probably end up talking about later on is it's a form of PTSD,
Oh, yeah.
because traumatic experience.
Right.
Yeah.
Very traumatic.
It didn't stop me from going back. It actually escalated my want to learn.
Your curiosity. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, did you report it to anybody? Did you call the police? Did you go to MUFON, or did you do anything to report it to any agency?
I didn't know anything existed back then.
Yeah, that's how I was. Yeah.
So, you know, at that age, I had no idea that there were investigation groups until I started seeing stuff on TV.
Right.
And I thought, well, okay, you know, these people on TV ain't going to talk to this guy, you know. I just figured, okay, well, I'll just store this in my mind, and down the road, something will come up that I'll finally get to be able to talk about it, you know. But there was no report that I did. I mean, I talked to my parents about it, and they kind of like brushed it off, like, you know, you thought you saw something because you're out in the dark, you're a young kid, you know, stuff's playing on your minds. Like, no, I remember what I see, or what I had seen, and it's never left me.
Yeah. Well, go ahead and tell us what
Just
what
continue
all else
on.
happened.
We'll quit interrupting.
Yeah, we'll stop interrupting. We're just full of questions.
We'll be good.
Yeah.
So, like I said, it had my interest grew, and wanting to know more about this, I started watching whatever TV show would come on, any movies. This is like, it was so interesting to me. Now, mind you, not all TV shows are credible, so
Right.
it's just like you get whatever information you can from them and you move on, you know.
Yeah.
But it intrigued me so much, I didn't care what show it was. I just wanted to know stuff. So, you know, years later, I had graduated. I moved on with my life a little bit and got a job, and you know, things weren't working out with work. And I decided to make a change in my life, and I joined the service at 22. And that didn't work out so well either, because I joined the Air Force, flew down to Lackland Air Force, Texas, you know, Lackland Air Force Base in Texas, started my basic training, and second day we had a 2-mile PT run, and I collapsed and died.
Oh my goodness.
Oh my goodness.
stroke. My temperature was 109. I was unconscious for 3.5 hours. I was dead for 5.5 minutes. So you're probably thinking, did he have an out-of-body experience? Yes, I did.
Yeah. Oh, wow.
So I've had that part of, the realm of certain things happening in my life. I remember that very, very faintly, but very vividly at the same time.
Can you expound on that at all? I've also had one, and they are so revealing.
Well, what it is, I was looking down on myself being worked on by the doctors and nurses, laying in bed, and that's basically what I remember. I saw a white light, and then all of a sudden everything went dark, and I'm back in my body.
Oh, okay. So yours was not real long. Okay.
No, well, like I said, 5.5 minutes was probably like a couple seconds in
Earth time.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But whenever I read the report afterwards, that they told me everything about what had happened, and they had to take me to hypothermia to save me.
Wow.
So within 3.5 hours, I had a heat stroke at 109, and then he took me to hypothermia and slowly brought me back up to normal temperature. And it took me a little bit to, like my brain to reboot, so to speak.
Yes.
Whenever I opened my eyes and looked at the doctors and nurses, they come running over like, "Oh, he's awake. He's awake." I remember them saying all this, and my eyes just felt like everything was squished. Like whenever I was looking at them, it's kind of like the opening scenes to the movie Alien, where everything's like funny looking.
Yeah.
That's how I remember it. And within 24 hours, I'm up walking around.
Right.
Wow.
And
Yeah. Isn't it interesting, though, that when something like that happens, I am a firm believer that once you've had a near-death experience, you are open to so much more in life. It seems like your mind opens because of what you experienced. It's almost like the pineal gland is exposed somehow. And when you come back, you're not the same person. There's a whole nother dimension open to you that you would have never even been concerned about previous to that. It's just the coolest thing. I've never met anybody that had one that didn't love it,
Yeah, I've heard about this happening to people, but to actually experience it and to remember everything, it's amazing. Like you said, it opens you up to other stuff. I for one, no offense, never really believed in ghosts.
Right. Yeah.
But when I was in the medical dorm in the service, this one kid, he actually could see them. And, he told me, he says, "They're going to greet you now." I'm like, "What do you mean?" Well, something had happened on that base, and their souls were still around. And he said, "There's one right behind you, and he's going to touch you on the shoulder." I got this cold chill.
Oh, wow.
Oh, my goodness.
I was like, "Touch me right now?" And he says, "Yes, it is. They don't want to hurt you. So just stay calm. It's okay." So,
Right.
that again, another experience. But the only reason why I was in medical hold is because whenever the doctor came in to see me the next day after my heat stroke, like I said, I was up walking around, and the doctor come in to check on me. And he looked at me and he says, "Man, I'll tell you what, I'm looking at a miracle right now."
Yeah.
I said, "How so?" He says, "Well, first of all, you died." And he says, "Now I'm standing here talking to you with you up out of bed." He says, "First of all, you shouldn't be here for what you went through. Second thing, you should be a vegetable." And he says, "Obviously you're not a vegetable because you're standing here talking to me." He says, "And with the tests that we've had, there's no brain damage." And I said, "Well, that's still questionable." And he said, he started laughing. He said, "Well, your humor's still intact." So, it just went there. And he looked at me and he told me, he says, "Well, I'll tell you what," he says, "for what happened to you," he says, "there's no harm." He says, "We can send you home. We'll get your paperwork done. We can send you home. You'll leave with a medical honorable discharge." He says, it's not a big problem. He says, this is going to stay with you for the rest of your life, what happened. And he says, we can do that. I said, well, what's the other option? He says, well, we can put you in medical hold. We can get you into therapy, and we can get you back to training so I can finish my basic training and move on with my time in service. Mm-hmm. He didn't even finish saying what he had to say. And I said, I didn't come here to quit. And he's like, his mouth dropped. He's like, wow, I mean, I did. I went there. I wanted to do something, change with my life. I wasn't going to let that stop me. And It took me I was in a medical hold facility for 3 months, and I wasn't getting any better. I was back in the hospital 6 or 7 more times.
Oh my goodness.
And, the one day I went to see the chaplain, and, he was like, I tell you what, man, he says, you better think about things because you're not good doing any better. So, I said, okay, I will. I went back to the dorm, and I just sat there for a little bit, and I thought about it. And, I asked to see my sergeant. I went and had a little private talk with my sergeant. I said, sir, and I started tearing up. I couldn't believe I was saying this. I told my sergeant, I said, sir, I says, I don't want to do this. I said, but I'm not getting any better. I says, can I go home?
Do you think that maybe, Ron, you might have been exposed to something while you were there? Was anybody else having any issues?
No, it was the heat stroke that was causing me the problems because I was there in June, the end of June and the beginning of July, which is the hottest season in Texas, in Lackland.
Oh, right,
Texas.
right. Yeah, that's
And a heat stroke is very hard on your body.
It is. I've had one. Yeah.
Heat stroke at that magnitude, and I was trying to get myself adapted to it after having a heat stroke and dying. My body was rejecting everything, and I just wasn't better. So it wasn't like anything happened there that, was causing everybody a problem. It was just because of what happened to me that my rejecting the therapy and everything. And I dealt with the fact that I wasn't going to be able to continue on. And, I came back home and I sat for a little bit before I went to go back to work. And a doctor told me that. He says, you need to go home. You need to rest before you go back to work and, go back to your life and everything. And I did. I came home and rested for a bit. And while I'm laying around trying to get my mind organized about everything, I thought about it. I'm like, I wonder if this happened for some certain reason. Why did I go there?
Right.
And it left my mind for a little bit. So things changed with my life, just different jobs, and I moved around a little bit and made friends, lost friends, whatever. And, I started working with this one guy. We became real good friends. We started going up to the mountains. Mind you, I still have this Bigfoot stuff in my head. So we're up in Mount Davis, Pennsylvania, and we're up there for trout season every year fishing. Well, here I am out here in the wilderness. I'm going to go for a walk, and I'm going to go see if I can find anything since I'm here anyways. We're up there primitive camping for 5 days. Let's just go for some walks. And I talked to the locals about things, and they told me, there were certain areas that I could go to check out what I'm looking for. And I actually came across Indian burial grounds. And this is one of the most interesting things that I have came across on top of everything else, because I love the Native American culture.
Yes.
I've always been interested in it, especially because whenever I was a child, I was actually accepted as a spiritual child to an Indian group. And I will never forget those people. They were wonderful people. The Abbott tribe, the elder that took me in on this has passed many years back, and I've been trying to reconnect with the rest of the family, but it's kind of hard after the elder passes away. Just like any other family, everybody kind of
dissipates.
So, I'm keep trying and see if I can get any results, but back to going up in those woods, the people told me, you're going to walk up this trail and you're going to walk right into it before you even realize it. And we did. a bunch of the kids and a couple of the guys would go for walks with me because they believed in what I believed in. They thought, okay, well, this guy's a nut. He don't care. He's going to go off into the woods and he's going to go looking for this stuff. And, everybody's like, oh, there's mountain lions and bears up here. I'm like, I don't care. I'm going looking for Bigfoot, whatever happens, I'm out here enjoying nature. That could happen in my own backyard, So we're walking the trail and we come up to this one intersection. One of the kids says to me, he says, hey, wait a second. He says, I'm feeling something strange. I said, okay. I says, am I not the only one then? He said, no. He says, I feel like something's watching us. Oh, wow. Well, there's a lot of things that they have shown on TV and other investigations and stuff that you read about or whatever about tree breaks. Yeah. We didn't see that. So we're walking up this one path and there's another path above us through the tree line. And that's where the kid said that he thought that he felt something watching us. I said, okay. I said, well, let's just continue up here where we come up to the, the intersection of this path and we'll see where we're at this point. Well, the people told us, if you see these tree breaks, don't go that way because they'll either push you out or they'll take care of you. Wow. And I was like, okay. I said, I'm going to heed that warning, So we get up to the intersection. And I told the boys, I said, hey, let's stop here for a second and just get our bearings about what's going on here. And I'm just looking around, trying to see any footprints or whatever. And I happened to look up the trees and I saw these two tree breaks facing inward towards the trail. I'm like, well, I guess we're not going that way. We're on foot. So I wouldn't venture to even try this. Right. Because the trails that we were on were actually quad trails and people ride through there all the time. And you could tell that. So I looked the other direction. I was like, well, that's going back to camp. So we're not going that way. Let's go straight. So we went straight. And before we even knew it, we were standing right in the middle of an Indian burial grounds.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
Well, that's actually where I live right there. The picture that's shown right now. That is what I believe is a makeshift shelter. I have a story to tell about this little investigation too, because this happened later on when I moved into this area. So, whenever we're up in Mount Davis, we're up there doing our investigations and just, doing a hoot and holler. And I had a ghillie suit that I would play around and, scare the kids and stuff like that. So, to that picture that was brought up, years later, I ended up moving into Daisy Town. And I had heard about an investigation that happened in this area in the 90s on the news. So once again, more stuff going on that really intrigued me. What was even more intriguing is the fact that it happened so close to where I live. Where I live now is 15 away from where I grew up. So I was like, wow, that is really close. So here I move into this place that I'm at now, and I'm sitting out on my front porch late at night. I think it was after midnight, and I'm just looking at the stars, listening to the crick, and I heard a long sustained howl. Boy, I tell you what, to hear that you're in your person for the very first time after seeing this stuff on TV, it was just amazing to me. It was like a little kid on Christmas morning excited about that gift that he wanted. I felt like this gift, I was like, wow, for me to be able to hear this is amazing. So I'm sitting there and I'm trying to depict the direction that I can hear this thing coming from. So I'm playing this over in my mind for a couple of days, and I got one of the guys to come down with a quad one night, and we went back to the area that we believed that it was from. So when we got back there, we got into this opening, and there's a ridge line all the way around us, but it was wide open. We started doing some calls, and we got responses. It was knocking at us.
Oh.
The tree knock.
Tree knock. Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's pretty prevalent.
And I got all giddy. I'm like, oh, cool. Well, the crazy thing about it was, I swear this thing was only about 250 yards away from us.
Oh.
That's close.
That's close.
Very close.
I was like, okay, we're going to just stay right here and see what else we can have happen, And well, kept doing some different things, and we ended up getting a knock again. And after that happened, I got quiet for a little bit. Nothing was going on. So we finally did something else. We did a little rock clack. Well, at this point, this is when it got a little bit unnerving for us because you could hear a deer running through woods.
Yeah.
And you could tell it's a four-legged creature running through the woods. It's like a prance.
Right.
You can hear a person walking through the leaves in the woods. This was like thunder. It was stomping and coming towards us.
Wow.
You could feel it in your body.
I could feel it.
The vibration.
Yes.
Fear.
Oh, it was the vibration from this thing stomping. I was like, okay, well, things had enough of us playing around because, they're nocturnal. They could see at night. I guarantee you they could see us sitting there acting like idiots trying to, communicate with them because that's all I've ever wanted to do. I'm that guy. I want to get out in that woods and I want to have that communication with them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, you got this 10-foot creature that can kill you just like that, I want to communicate with it. So everybody always teases me. They're like, man, you're crazy. Why do you go out in the woods and do this stuff? Whatever this thing is that you're saying it is, the size that it is, the strength that it is, the speed that it has, that thing can kill you. I'm like, well, in the name of science,
Easily.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Right.
But we ended up leaving the scene, went back home. A couple days later, we went back out in the daylight to see if we could get any evidence at the daytime. And we found exactly where this thing was at. Now, the picture that came up there a minute ago, I had walked past that with that same feeling of something watching. Now, as I could not get near this thing because the closer I got to it, that feeling got stronger.
Mm-hmm.
And I was going to go up and I wanted to see if maybe there was maybe some handprints from it crawling down to get into it. What my belief is that because I've been told that there's a mother and a young one, I think that the mother was training.
Yeah. You don't want to be anywhere around that.
Oh, no.
Mm-hmm.
But as I'm walking through the woods, I swear one was playing peekaboo around the tree with me.
Mm.
And that was before I got to that right there. Now, further as I go up, I found footprints in the creek, but I couldn't get a cast because there was water running through. But higher up, where we had gotten to where we were standing in the middle of the field, we had gone straight up to the ridge, right where we believe it was at. And if you look at that picture with that, what I believe is a shelter, there's a mark on the tree in front of it.
Ah.
Do you see that white spot?
Yeah.
Wait.
Oh,
okay.
yeah. Uh-huh.
Oh, I see that. That was
there's a similar mark on the tree that was looking down over the ridge where I believe the thing was standing. So if you look at the two pictures,
is that a handprint?
That mark on two different trees, I feel like that those were markers for them to know where they're at and where they should be at certain times. Now, coming off of from that picture there, we went back down into the bottom of the valley, and we found a footprint.
Oh, wow. Did you get a cast of that? Oh, yes, you did.
Oh.
Okay.
I didn't get a cast because we didn't have anything with us, but we used knife. You can see the toes, the ridge of the toes right there towards the top.
Yes.
Uh-huh.
And we measured the blade later, and it was about 16-inch.
Look how wide it is.
Yeah, that's very wide. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Very wide.
And that is in my own backyard in the woods near me. And this was years later after the investigation in the 90s, obviously, because I moved here probably about 9 years ago.
So they've been there the whole time.
Yeah.
Well, they've been here for years.
Yeah.
Now,
let me just say, what's really interesting is that the one we saw, our home butted up next to the Green Swamp in Florida. And there was a big sinkhole where the cows would come. And that's how we ended up seeing it. We weren't even looking for Bigfoot. As many times as we had gone out in the Green Swamp and camped and everything, this one time we're going out to see the cows, And there he is, and he was massive and totally black, big head sitting on the shoulders. And, you know, the thing is that they are always in that vicinity where people live. And I mean to tell you, when I ran into the lanai that night, I was afraid all night to even close my eyes. I was thinking, oh my gosh, it knows exactly where we are. But we never had an incident. We never had any problems. It was really unnerving that night. I mean, I really had a hard time sleeping.
Well, it's funny that you say that it knows where you were at.
Mm-hmm.
After this little investigation with these little pictures that I that were there, I started having things happen right at my house.
Yeah, I'm not
So they must
surprised.
crack. And anytime I would step out my back door looking into the woods, I have a shed on the one corner of my property that's next to the woods. I seen 2 sets of red eyes sitting over there.
Mm-hmm.
Mm.
And I would hear things going on in the woods, just, you know, weird rustling. Like, you know, we have squirrels and stuff running around, but I was like, there's just a little bit too noisy for a squirrel even. And I've had, you know, I have a pool and I'm walking across the yard and I heard footsteps in the woods, but I couldn't see them. So I hollered up to it. I said, "What are you doing? If you're gonna walk through here and you're keeping a track of me, because obviously it's keeping track of me.
Mm-hmm.
If you're going to be coming down here, why don't you come out of the woods and come greet me? You know, I want to meet you. Let's talk. You know." I just hollered up there to it. Well, the next thing happened is right behind that same shed that I see the red eyes. There's a tree probably about 5 inches, maybe 6 inches thick. The whole time there was no wind. The whole top of this tree shook.
Ah, there you go.
I hollered at it. I'm like, "Oh, that was weird."
Yeah.
So I'm standing there in amazement, like, wow, what was going on with that? You know, and you know, rustling through the woods, and it was gone. And I kept watching the ridge because I could see the ridge all the way up to, there's a telephone line where it's cleared, and then it goes up to a church on the ridge. And I couldn't see nothing. I don't know where it went, you know, what was going on with that, why it did that to me. But I don't know. It kept coming around. And one day it threw rocks at me. As I said, I was walking past my pool, and all of a sudden, I mean, there's nothing there. There was no rain, no wind. Nobody was on the hill. But all of a sudden, a whole bunch of rocks went tink, 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 tink off the side of my pool.
And they're famous for that.
Yeah, they do throw things.
They're famous for rocks.
What's interesting is, you know, going back to the beginning of your story, when you saw them, you know, you saw the red eyes and the eye shine was way up high. We were recently out in the LBL, which is really big around here, and it has so many sightings, dogman, all kinds of different things, and a lot of Bigfoot. And she's got this torch that I'm telling you lights up the whole woods. I mean, it's one of these ones you see on TV.
It was just a really good flashlight.
It is amazing flashlight. And we're way over here, and we're hearing 1,000 coyotes. You know how the coyotes will go, and they just never shut up. They just keep going. Well, she's shining this out there, and now coyotes would be here, you know, looking out. But there's eye shine up here in the tree.
One set of eyes.
One set of eyes up high in the tree.
A good 5 foot off the ground, spaced apart, but they were like a yellow.
It was so weird. We don't know if they were making all that noise because of the Bigfoot. Was it a Bigfoot? What did we see? But all the coyotes are down here, and then the eye shine is up here. And so, you know, sure, we could debunk it and say, well, maybe it was something else, but, you know, who knows?
This past weekend, I was in LBL on an expedition.
Again.
And that very area we went back to, that field, it drops down and there's like a ditch.
Right.
So whatever I was shining my flashlight on, I think had to be in that ditch. And it being 5 feet off the ground, that I'm seeing these eyes
Yeah.
Makes you wonder.
Yeah. And, just to
does.
confirm to you, this stuff happens all the time.
Oh, LBL is
I think
full.
I think there's
There-
more going on than what people realize.
Well, that's one thing that I try to open people's eyes up to is the fact that if you think we're alone, you're wrong.
No, there's no way we're alone.
Exactly. We're not the only planet with life.
Over the years, just like, people look at me like, man, you're crazy for thinking that stuff's real,
Right.
So you think that we're the only thing on this planet?
Yeah.
Right.
Come on.
Yeah.
No.
New eight. I mean, look at Dr. Maria Morand. She's a primatologist. She found 5 or 6 new species.
Right. How interesting.
I mean, and that's just the tip of the iceberg of what we've been finding.
That's
Yeah.
right. That's right.
Divers and investigators and stuff like that. It's amazing what we don't know
Yeah.
exists on this earth. Look at the Mariana Trench.
Right.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's
It's unbelievable.
miles deep into this earth that we
That's
haven't
right.
even discovered.
That's right.
Well, only like 20% of our oceans have been discovered.
Right.
Like,
Well,
there's
on the
still
other
80%.
With the polar ice caps thawing, there's been a lot of things been discovered that we didn't know about.
Right.
Because,
That were in
whole
that
area-
ice. That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, the possibilities are endless of
They
what's going on.
are. But the one thing that really is intriguing is about, the giants and on the hieroglyphs, there were always these big, huge beings that looked like they could have been like a Bigfoot. And yet,
And they're the same ones.
Yeah.
Here, there, they're all over the world.
Just different names being
Exact-
seen by different peoples.
Exact paintings,
Yeah.
all of them.
Yeah. So look how far back we're going. It's almost like there was a whole pre-Adamic lifestyle happening on the planet, and then the sands of time covered so much up, and archaeologists today are digging to find and unveil the sands of time and bring forth all this new information. And there's so much, like the Euphrates is drying up, and they're finding caves where there's these unbelievable sounds in those caves. Sounds of, I don't know if y'all are familiar with that, but like dragging chains and then huge screams that are not human. And so all these things are being found out now.
Those are in the
You know.
caves
Yeah.
that run through Kentucky into Virginia.
Oh yeah. And I'm sure Ohio, Pennsylvania, I'm sure Wisconsin, Arkansas, there's so many caves. Yeah.
Well, that's an interesting fact right there because my aunt lives in Kentucky, and
Yeah.
I went a couple times here to visit, and she kept on telling me, she's like, Ronnie, there's caves all over my farm.
Oh,
I'm like,
yeah.
are you?
Yep.
So we went
Yes.
out. Now, years ago, we have a very large cave system in the Uniontown Mountains, which is probably about a half an hour away from me. It's called Laurel Caverns.
Uh-huh.
Now, you have a center that you go to. It's like a gift shop or whatever. And they take you tours down into these caves. I've been all the way to the bottom.
Yeah, they're beautiful.
One day, I guess there was a report that when they went to open up the doors to go down into the caves, they found Canadian geese.
Yes, I saw that.
Were
I
they
read
alive?
that. Yes, Canadian
They
geese.
were alive.
Mm-hmm.
Now, here's the interesting thing. They had trackers on them. Guess where they came from? Kentucky.
Yes,
underground.
Kentucky. Right. Mm-hmm.
They
Isn't that
found their way
crazy?
through the cave systems.
Yep. So
That
you wonder,
is-
was that a food source? What was that
that
all
is
about?
so crazy.
Yeah, yeah.
I have no idea the whole story about that, but
I know.
that's just a bit that I have. It's just amazing what this earth is providing us with.
Oh, yes. Well, even the Bible says in the last days, knowledge will increase. It's increasing because we're doing the boots on the ground, the hard work. We're getting out there, we're studying, we're looking, we're looking this way and that way, and we're seeing things and reporting
Well, those
things.
caves that come through Virginia, Kentucky, come all the way down into Indian Mound, Tennessee,
Yes,
which
uh-huh.
goes into
Well,
LBL.
Looking at the geography of the East Coast, the Uniontown Mountains is part of the Appalachian Mountains. So there are tributaries that come off the sides of these mountains and come into the undergrowth of the Appalachian. So, it's perfect underground, unviewed areas for unknown things
Yes.
to sustain a life and
Yes.
travel.
Yes.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
it's basically an underground game trail.
right.
And I think there's lots of beings under there
It could be,
that's not seen the light of
Again,
day.
right.
We've only touched the tip of the iceberg of what this earth
Exactly.
has.
I just say you got to be open-minded. You got to be very open-minded because we just can't. There's just so much. It's just.
And that's another thing with the area that I live in is this is an old coal mining town. So there's actually old mine entrances that are caves, so to speak.
Right,
Most of them entrances have been cut off.
right.
Matter of fact, there's one at the end of my driveway, right in the hillside.
Wow.
It's been. I'd love to open it up and see where I can find, but
Yikes.
it's all protected. I can't touch it.
Go throw some dynamite on it.
Yeah.
I'm
She's
so
always
bad.
a party, okay?
But back where
Dynamite.
those pictures that was put up, we were very close to the end of that valley, and further back in, there's old other mine entrances that weren't shut off. But yes, they were. They were shut off, but they have been reopened, and a lot of people have witnessed some of this in their travels on these trails back here because people have been using these trails for quad running for a long time and hunting back there. So supposedly one of these, I want to go investigate this and find this area. They believe that one of these old mine entrances is actually a home for where my local Bigfoots live.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Possibility.
Yeah.
They have their shelter. They've been here for a long time.
Yeah.
Something about the East Coast Bigfoots that are different from the
Yes.
the west part of the United States. They are a different culture in themselves because the East Coast, a lot of them live amongst people more than what people realize.
Right. And a
They
lot of
walk-
people talk about them being inner earth. I'm sorry, excuse me, but they talk about them living in the earth, in caves, in the earth. And some people think they're interdimensional, but we're not really sure. There could be a breed that is interdimensional, and then there could be a breed that is living inside the earth. So,
think about it. A cave is the best place in the world to
hide.
to stay out of the weather and the elements.
Right.
If you think about it, look at the human race. Look at all the different nationalities that we have. Each nationality is subject to a certain portion of the earth because that's what they have been inhabiting and that's what their body is capable of living in.
Yes.
Right.
Same creatures. Each creature that we hear about, say it's on the East Coast, mid part of the United States, all the way on the West Coast, maybe even in another country, each one of these is probably a different nationality like us. And they're able to sustain life in that area because that's what they're. Bring the Yeti out of the Himalayan mountains and have it live down here where Bigfoot is. It's going to be a different world for it.
Right.
Oh yeah. Yeah, and
Vice versa.
there's some, I can't even think of who his name is, that I listened to his podcast on Bigfoot, and he's like, there are different types. He's talking about the skunk ape in Florida and their height and their build.
And they sting.
And he said that, even in Canada, some of them are 18 feet tall.
Yeah. Giants, although, are 18 feet tall.
you think about it, you're looking at the Alaskan woods, which is tied into Canada. You've got a lot of uninhabited from human areas for wildlife to sustain life without being bothered.
Yes.
So, you got a different species up there.
Yeah.
So,
and they even have a different name for them, and I can't think of what it is.
Well, the same thing with orangutan over in China. They're a lot smaller creatures. And then you go to Australia, and what is it called? The yowie. I mean, each area has a different growth of what this thing looks like.
And they're different colors. Like the Sasquatch is an orangish and a brownish.
And black.
In Florida. But we also had there the black, because what I saw was black, and it was huge. And, something that's interesting I've been looking into lately are, everybody knows, and it is a proven fact, that we had giants living on the earth for a very long time. And they're talked about in the scriptures, they're talked about in the Torah, all the books of historical, value mention the giants. And the giants came forth from the fallen angels having sex with women. And those women gave birth to these massive giants. And I believe that some of those giants may have had something to do with the apes of that time creating a hybrid, some form of hybridization, and they are still here. Now, some of them, actually, some of these children, giant children, were all born hairy. It's almost like there was a genetics in their DNA that caused them to have hair all over their face. And the Barnum and Bailey Circus down in Ringling in Sarasota, Florida, used to have this guy that would come out, and he literally was hair
like
everywhere,
almost.
On his face, on his back, on his arms. And, so it's crazy when people say to me, oh, I don't believe in Bigfoot. It would be an impossibility for something like that to be alive. Really? Look at the facts that we have stacked up already.
You can't necessarily see God, but we believe in God.
Right. Absolutely believe in God.
Whenever people would question me about my belief in Bigfoot, I would actually look at them and say, well, do you believe in God? And they would say, yeah,
Exactly.
I said, okay, well, if you believe in God, I said, but you can't see God, you can't touch God, but you believe in him, right? And they said, yes. I said, well, why can't I believe that there's a Bigfoot if I haven't touched one or seen one in person yet?
Exactly.
I mean, it's just a good analogy,
Yeah, it is.
But here's the thing, if you look into the Bible like you were talking about, there are scriptures in there that talk about a creature like Bigfoot.
Yes, absolutely, there are. And to me, that validates it, because I study the Word all the time. And, I kind of bring everything back there. It's kind of like, if I can see it here, then I know there's a possibility of it. Or if it happened here, then I know there's truth about this. And like wheels within wheels, aliens and different things, and just the strangeness that comes from that Bible when you read it, it is eye-opening. And,
well,
I really do think that Bigfoot is part of what is still here on this planet.
I just have to say, all these people that say, why haven't they caught it on a camera? Why haven't they done this? They are of a higher intelligence. They've been eluding us forever.
Right.
They are the masters of that.
I don't know that we're allowed to do
and
that.
And plus, I mean, all you got to do is get on YouTube and start searching. Or just put your boots on and go to LBL.
Well, what are people afraid of, going out into the woods and enjoying nature?
I find it very relaxing. I love it.
I always say, I used to just go out and play in the woods and do things out in the woods. Now, I'm always saying, are you packing? I make sure my
course.
husband is packing.
If I'm not
Somebody's
packing,
gotta
my
be
partner
packing.
is.
Somebody has to have a gun because I know what's out
But-
there. I know what I've seen.
But the other day when I was at LBL, the first thing I said was, we are here just to explore. Our
Yes,
intentions
yes.
are from peace and love.
Yes,
We mean no
No.
harm.
yes, that's true.
Do when I'm in the woods doing investigations. If I have that weird feeling,
Yeah.
I will actually speak out and say,
Yes.
I'm not
Yes.
here to cause you any harm.
We do the same. Right.
Yep.
Greet each other.
I
Yeah.
come in
You know-
peace.
Yeah.
And
We
it-
come in peace, but we're not stupid.
Yeah. But even after I say a few words like that, then like the tension eases.
Yes.
Yes.
Uh-huh.
They're listening. You know,
Yes.
they know you're in the woods before you're in the woods. So
But I do believe that the intelligence level that they're at, they work on vibrations more than the humans do, and they can feel the vibration of peace. And the minute they startle you, they know they've startled you. They can feel that difference in the vibration. And
Yeah.
usually, I swear this is a fact, anytime Kevin and I have been out, and we've been out 100 times, spending the night or just out looking for Bigfoot or looking for, casts and things like that we can get. And he has some that we've gotten in Florida. But when fear comes into the picture, the vibration changes and it seems like they back off of you and they seem to know. And I've experienced that with extraterrestrials. I have felt that.
okay.
Yes. We live in a strange world.
It is. A lot of strange people too. I'm one of them.
Yeah.
But-
Well, tell us about the PTSD
Yes.
group that you've got going.
Okay, well, so you've heard my story about my service time, and you've heard my story about my investigations, my love for Bigfoot. I got to the point where I was so interested in being at one of these festivals, and I had seen this one going on local here for a couple years, and I missed it the first year they did it. So the second year, at this point, I had become a Legion rider. So I had bought a motorcycle, and I bought a costume. So
What
I was like-
costume?
just for a joke, I'm going to put the Bigfoot costume on, jump on the
Oh.
bike. Well, I thought, well, heck, I can't jump on the bike with the costume alone because my fur's going to burn on the exhaust.
Oh,
So I put my chaps on.
Oh my gosh. Oh my goodness.
Completely ensemble. I put the
I love it.
helmet. So I went full on biker Bigfoot.
I love
You
it.
know, with me holding the flag and the one on the other with me turned around. I showed up at this festival dressed like this, and nobody knew I was coming.
Oh
I
boy,
love
you're
it.
lucky you didn't get shot.
So I rolling into the park where the festival was going on, and I stopped to go.
You need a
Everybody-
tour bus with that picture down the side.
How much fun was that?
Oh, I loved it.
Yeah.
I loved it.
That
I
is
tell
so
you what.
cute.
When I rolled up in there, I didn't know what to expect. And I pulled up into the parking area, and I was just like, okay, where am I gonna park the bike and get off? Okay, I had to do it immediately because the whole show shut down and come over to see me.
Oh
Oh
my
my
goodness,
gosh.
that's wonderful.
Like the speaker had to stop what they were talking about because people left listen to them and was coming out wanting pictures with me. I was swarmed. I was like, I don't expect this reaction.
I would have loved to have saw the people on the highway as you were driving.
I get looks when I do this.
I love it. You've got to come to Tennessee on that.
You gotta love that picture. You got the two portalets in the background.
Yeah.
Who needs to enter? You need to enter this in the fish fry,
Oh my gosh, this is cool.
the world's biggest fish fry.
Yeah, we've got a fish fry
Yeah.
here in Tennessee. You're gonna have to come down and bring that whole get up.
That would be awesome.
So that was the first time I did this. I went to this festival, and at this time, I hadn't even thought about doing what I'm doing right now. So it was kind of like the eye opener for me, because it was really cool, because a mother came over to me after, the kids had gotten pictures with me. And she says to me, she says, "I want to thank you for coming today." And I says, "Oh, no problem. I was just, I just wanted to do something fun, just to, get out and just do this. And she's like, "Seriously," she says, "Today's my daughter's birthday. We came to this festival," and she said, "All I want to do is meet Bigfoot."
Oh,
And she
that's
says,
awesome.
I love it.
You're
So
famous.
I was like, so mind you, the mask is on. I'm crying on the inside of the mask, because that just hit my heart so hard.
Oh my gosh.
I was like, man, this is awesome,
Yeah.
So, to hit a little bit of a heart-wrenching thing, me being part of the Legion at the time this was going on, we would go to funerals for fallen members, other veterans and stuff. And I had been to 4 funerals in 1 year for suicide.
Oh, dear Lord.
So it really struck me, I was like, man, I was the vice commander of the whole Legion, and I was the president of the Riders group. And I was like, you know what, not only can I do something here at the Legion, but there's just something I got to be able to do with these titles that I have to be able to help even further. Well, needless to say, I wanted to go get some ink work done on my arm. So I go down to Pittsburgh and I get tattoo on my arm. And there's this young soldier sitting next to me, and we're sitting there talking. And here my tattooist told me before I got there, or before he got there, he says, "Oh, hey, my buddy's coming in here. He's going to sit down and talk to you." He says, "You might enjoy talking with him since you're both veterans, blah, blah, blah." And he says, "But let me tell you about his story. He was in war, and they were in their vehicles going from one place to another, and an RPG came in and took out the whole."
Oh, Lord.
He was the one that survived. Now, they called him Four Finger Bobby, and the reason why is because he lost one of his fingers whenever that RPG hit. He woke up in the hospital like a couple days later, and he didn't know what happened. He had shrapnel that they had removed, and the finger had been lost. So after he got his wits about him, he, later on finds out that his whole platoon, all of his brothers, were gone.
Oh, God.
So what does it create? PTSD. And in this situation, that is survivor syndrome. Well,
Yes.
my buddy, the tattooist, he tells me, he says, so he suffers from this, and he's very suicidal. And I was like, man, let me, that'll be great. He can come in, we can talk. I can learn about his story, learn about how he feels about everything, and just see if there's anything that I can do just to talk to him. So, this is pre my page.
Yeah.
And so we had a nice conversation. He's a hell of a guy. We departed, and a couple weeks later, my tattooist put up on his page that to celebrate the life of Four Finger Bobby, he had his struggle with PTSD ended today. I was like, wow. This week. I was like, man, this just hit me hard. I just spoke to him.
Yeah.
And these funerals that we were going to, I was like, oh my gosh, like there's something I got to be able to do. Me being the crazy nut that I am, I thought, hey, I'm riding around on this bike with this costume on. I can do this to get people's attention and draw them in, and then take the costume off, and then I can talk to people about their problems and stuff like that. You want to know how much of a conversational piece this is to people. Open up to you. Hey, there's this crazy guy over there on his bike with a costume. Let's go talk to him. Once they find out my story and why I'm doing this, people really open up. Now, something that people really don't know about veterans, especially the elders that long before me, maybe they were in Pearl Harbor, if any survivors from that, World War I, World War II, any of those survivors, those guys never talked about Vietnam. None of the guys talked about anything that happened to them.
No.
They sucked.
Total trauma.
Yeah.
Now, I was sitting at the Legion one day, and after some of the elders had found out what I'm doing, they would come over and talk to me. And I was like, man, I'm really honored. I appreciate you coming over and you telling me your story. You know, I don't have my stories like you guys have, because of what happened to me. I didn't get to go into battle. I didn't get to go do what they got to do. You know, I wanted to go fight for my country, but I didn't get the opportunity. It was immensely honorable to be able to hear these stories from these men that they never told. A family member happened to be nearby, and they says, Dad, I've never heard you tell that story before.
Oh, isn't that something?
When did this happen? So that really hit me whenever that happened, because I was like, oh my God, these people are opening up to me, but not their families.
Right. Sometimes that's easier in struggles.
You have definitely stepped into your purpose.
Yes, this is your calling, and that's why all these things happen. And you know, you look back at passing out in the heat and having a near-death experience, but God's hand was in it all because you needed to be this person for those people.
Because when you look back at your story and how it's come together and how you are making a difference.
When there's a plan for your life, you have
no idea what plan. Everybody has one.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's right. Now, we don't know what our path is. We don't know what steps are going to be taken in our life. And every step that we take is a change in our life.
Right.
And you're put there for a reason, because we're supposed to learn a lesson.
Right.
A lot of, oh my gosh, why is this all put on my shoulders? But one of the things that I've never forgotten from childhood, growing up in church and in Bible study school, God will only put what's on your shoulder what he knows you can handle.
That's absolutely right. That's right.
People say, well, I can't handle anymore. Stop putting it. No, he keeps putting more on you because he wants to build your strength.
Character.
There's go through in my life, like going to the service and having the heat stroke, trying to stay, that showed my strength, that I wanted to fight and be there.
Right.
But for a while I realized, okay, I'm not supposed to be here. I stepped away. I went and I had a different life for a while, and then I joined the Legion. I never believed I was a veteran because of what happened to me. I didn't step foot on the battlefield, but I got somebody to sit there and say, hey, Ron, you're a veteran. You're allowed to join this Legion. You're allowed to be part of this.
You were there.
And it wasn't very long after that happened that I became vice commander. And I was like, oh my God, this is so honorable. But you know what happened? There was other veterans that were the same way. They did not believe that they belonged, because they didn't believe that they were a veteran because they had a medical discharge, or they never sat.
Right.
Some of the time I talked to, they were during peacetime, and they didn't get to set foot on a battlefield.
Yeah.
But they go and they served their time. Excuse me.
No, it's okay.
Well, here's a little trick I learned a long time ago. When you're going through hard times, I've learned to just say, okay, Lord, what is it about this I'm supposed to get?
Yeah.
Because I am so tired of trying to learn this lesson. Just give me the lesson and let's move on.
Right.
Well,
and that's so true. It is so true.
Yeah.
I asked God to show me a sign of what I'm supposed to do. I just let free will do its job.
Yeah.
That's right.
Just follow the pool.
Trust him. That's all we can do, is trust him to guide our footsteps on a daily basis.
Exactly. And knowing that there were certain things that I had to do in my life to be built stronger, I had to take these steps.
Yeah.
And taking these steps, not knowing why, I started figuring things out. And I was like, oh my gosh, I was supposed to have this happen in the service, for me to become part of the Legion, for me to become a commander, for me to go to these funerals and meet these people. And
that's such a beautiful thing.
Not only did I become vice commander, but also the president of the Riders, but I was also assistant director of Region 1 Riders, which I had command over 20 different legions. So I tell you, whenever you say you've got brothers and sisters everywhere, when you're in command of somebody like that, in that region, and you get to know these people because you feel that you were put there for a reason, people believed in you, I tell you what, that just really put something on me that made me know that when I decided to open my page, December 15th, 2022, I just had my 2-year anniversary.
Wow, that's awesome.
And I went from this simple guy to what I'm doing now this past year. And mind you, I did this show where I showed up there for the first time. One of the guys there, he was a speaker, and him and I became friends. He tells this story anytime that we're anywhere speaking, and he'll be like, "Here comes this guy, this nut on the bike, dressed up as Bigfoot. I have to meet him." He's such a quiet and honorable, great guy. His name's Les O'Dell. He's from down in West Virginia. He's an investigator. He started something down there with Sutton, West Virginia, with the Bigfoot Museum down there. So this thing came up on my Facebook notifications saying that there was this festival, and I said that I was going to go. Well, here we're friends on Facebook. He contacts me. He says, "Hey, Ron," he says, "you're going to go to that thing?" I was like, yeah, I really want to be there. I want to go. This is something different. I want to check it out. He says, "Well, how would you like to speak?" I was like, "Oh, okay." I said, "What do you want me to do?" And he says, "There's a conference on Friday night, and then the festival's on Saturday." So this is my first time I've gotten asked to speak in front of a lot of people, other than, me getting up at different places and just telling my story and stuff. But this was an actual conference that I was asked to speak at.
That's wonderful.
So I was like, "Okay, Les, what's going on with this?" And he says, "I'm the commentary for this, and I'm supposed to introduce this person." And he says, I'm real shy about this stuff. And I'm like, "Okay, buddy." I says, "What do you want me to do?" He says, "Well, I want you to get up there and I want you to tell your story, and then I want you to introduce this person." I said, "Okay, who is it?" He says, "Oh, Dr. Mildrum." I'm like, "What?"
Oh,
Jeff Meldrum.
That's awesome.
I was like, "I get to introduce Dr. Mildrum?" He says, "Yeah." I said, "I'm there." So,
I'm so happy for you. This is real exciting.
the very first show I do, I get to introduce him. He's like the holy.
Oh, yes.
I was so great that he thought of me to do this, and so
wonderful.
Mind you, I rode my bike from California, Daisytown, PA, all the way to Sutton, West Virginia, which is over 2-hour ride, with all of my clothes and my costume on the back of my bike.
Oh my gosh.
I didn't ride with the costume all the way to West Virginia, but I took it with me. So I went down there, I checked into the hotel, and so that evening I did the conference. There was 450 people at this conference.
Wow.
Mind you, in high school, I was a very shy kid, and I joined drama club and all this other stuff, and I was just like, heck. I walked up there like it was nothing because I knew it was a mission that I had.
That's right.
And
It
just came right from the heart, told everything. It was time. I was done, and it was time for Dr. Mildrum to come up, and I introduced him. I called him Jeff. I didn't call him Jeff Mildrum. I called him something else. I was so nervous to introduce him. And he looked at me funny. He was like, "Oh, whatever, just go with it," So he walked across me. He says, "Now, how am I supposed to follow that?" He says, "That was a great presentation." I was like, "Oh my gosh." I was like, "Wow." I was like, "Wait, you're the Dr. Mildrum." I was like, "I think you'll manage," So we had a joke about that, but it was a great evening. To join in on what I'm doing now has really opened my world. I've turned into the yes man. Whenever people ask me, I do it.
Good.
Yeah.
I say
Just
it all the time. Just say yes.
Yeah.
Just say.
Just say yes.
But
This has been too good. Thank you so much for all this sharing about all this.
And it was really great because that opened my world to other possibilities. And mind you, the next day at the festival, one of the guys from Mountain Monsters was there, Huckleberry. So I went over and I introduced him. I handed him my business card and told him what I'm doing. And, half the guys on that group are veterans, so I'm trying to get them to come.
Yes, they are.
Awesome.
So, that didn't work out. I guess they're always busy. So I was like, okay, no big deal. So the day went on, and I went home, and next thing you know, I'm getting messages from people like, "Hey, you want to come join us at this festival?" I'm like, "All right."
Wow, that's so cool.
I mean,
So-
once you've introduced Dr. Jeff Meldrum,
Oh,
I mean,
Sky's the limit.
I think you've stepped into your purpose. I think that you're going to be
Yeah.
a very busy man.
Yeah.
well, the funny thing about it is that, here I am idolizing him for what he's doing because this is a love that I have.
yeah.
The next day, he's talking to me at the festival about a PTSD incident that he had.
Oh,
I was like-
wow.
I was like, "What?
Full
what am I turning?"
circle.
I was like, I keep thinking about this all the time. I said, this is such an honorable and humbling thing
Yes.
that I cannot believe that I've stepped my life into. And it expanded so much that this past year, 2023, 11 shows.
Wow,
I
that's
have-
amazing.
Well, when you follow
Four
your
different
passion,
Yeah.
Four
mean-
different. And one of the things that I won't forget is I went to the Hocking Hills event, and I got to open the show on that one. And when I was done with my speech, I went to the back of the room, and this young gentleman came over. Well, younger than I am, but he came over to me and started talking to me. He says, "Boy, I tell you, he says your speech was really inspiring." He says, and then the story about what happened to you in the service. He says, it's really nice to have a face to the story. I was like, "Oh, that's great. I'm glad you enjoyed blah, blah, blah." He says, "No." He says, "You don't understand." He says, "I was at Lackland Air Force Base years after this happened to you, and I heard your story." I said, "Wait a second."
Oh, wow.
I said, "So they're still talking about what happened to me?" And then he
small
says, "Yeah,
world.
Yeah,
They-
it is. Yeah.
they use it in their training to make sure people hydrate."
Wow, isn't that amazing? You
So-
have just really gone from one end of the spectrum to the other. That's amazing.
Yeah. I mean, you are
So-
just, it's like a puzzle.
Yeah, go ahead.
Just keep going.
Well, that's the thing. I'm all over the place. I don't stop at one thing. I just go everywhere with everything. And I think that's what really grabs people because I joke and I tell sad stories. I might try to make people laugh because laughter's the best medicine.
Yes.
oh,
you know,
yes.
To open people up whenever it comes to PTSD. I was like, I tell people like PTSD is not a joke. It's
No,
very
No.
serious.
very
But why
serious.
can't laugh about things and get you to stop thinking about what your problems are?
Yeah.
And to further even establish what I found out later, matter of fact, just this past year, I found this out. Not only did that young gentleman hear my story on the Air Force Base, but my aunt told me the same thing because my cousins had gone to the same base, and she got back to me and she says, "Hey, your cousin came and contacted me and said they heard your story on the base during training, blah, blah, blah." Well, there was even another story. Just recently, this past year, I found out that the Navy is talking about me.
Wow.
I wasn't in the Navy.
Yeah, but still, I mean, the story is very
Well-
pertinent. You do have to hydrate, and that is what happened to me when I was a little girl. I had that happen.
That's
Without
just-
hydration, it's going to happen.
That's
in
just
heat.
amazing.
It is.
My story has stretched from the Air Force to all branches.
That is
of the-
amazing.
of-
Good
You have been
grief.
so blessed.
Well, I tell you,
Yes.
talk about pressure.
I mean, you probably at that time you didn't think that was a blessing, but you look at it now.
And
oh my
it-
gosh!
Totally. And it all was for a reason.
Yes.
There's a purpose and
You
everything.
have stepped into your purpose.
You
If
know-
so many people would do what you've done.
I know it. But we're at the top of our hour. We're actually past it.
Oh.
But
Oh,
We
okay.
may have to
this
have
has
you on
been
again.
so good. I am just loving it, and I hope we can stay in touch. And if you come back down this way, come
We've got
visit
him
us.
crying.
Yeah.
So after here in May at 25th, I'm going to have this
Yeah.
show with my buddy Dan ECBRO. There's going to be a Bigfoot encrypted show going on in Somerset, Pennsylvania. I'm going to be the MC for that. So
Yay.
the goofball that I am, what that's going to be like.
It'll be great.
Tell you one more thing about me.
Yes.
Okay. So another story that I found out about myself that I did not know is that you said something about P.T. Barnum and Bailey, right?
Yes.
Okay. At one time, before it was P.T. Barnum and Bailey, it was P.T. Barnum and Howes.
Oh, yeah.
That's your last name.
Yes, it is.
Really? So you were a part of, your parents were a part of that?
I had been from a circus. It was called the International House Circus. They came from overseas. They settled in Michigan, where a lot of my family came over to the United States. And there was three Howes brothers. I descend from one of the three Howes brothers. They had joined forces with P.T. Barnum back in the 1800s.
Wow.
Then later, P.T. Barnum had disbanded the Howes and brought in Bailey.
I think I remember reading about that because I'm from Florida, where they had the headquarters for the Ringling Museum in Sarasota. I remember seeing that.
I bet you my circus tartan is actually hanging there. I really want to find this thing.
Wow.
I use this in my conversations with people, and it's just like I let them know, like, hey, I'm the master of ceremonies, so I'm the ringleader. I never know.
Oh wow!
So I have this call. Go ahead.
You say that I'm like multiple pieces of a puzzle coming together. That's the reason why, because I've been all over the aspect of things.
It's in your blood.
Yes,
it is.
So I have this coffee mug that says, "I'm kind of a big deal." I'm going to have to get your address and get you one and send it to you. So you can go around with it. It says, I'm kind of a big deal.
And you can do your interviews with your coffee mug.
I'm kind of a big deal.
Thank you so much.
One last thing I can say is that if anybody finds this interesting of what I'm doing, my page is called Believe in Yourself Fighting Against PTSD.
Yes.
To help veterans and first responders, which we're looking police, the fire, the ambulance, and their families, because also the families go through a lot of ordeal when that person's going through a lot of problems, fighting it with them, because that's their support. Anytime anybody's support whenever they're going kind of problems, that's the greatest thing you can do for them. Just fight that fight.
Yes, absolutely.
They can also find you on our pages.
Yeah,
we all sent you friend requests, so you're in the tribe.
So you can definitely this is being recorded, so people can go back and you can put this on your page and let people know who you are and what you're all about. We are beyond blessed to have had this time with you.
Yes.
And thank you for your service. And I just would like to say to anybody listening who is a veteran, please contact Ron Howes. I really believe that he can help you, and I know that PTSD is very serious, and you do need help. Please reach out. We love you. We are grateful, all of us. We really are. It probably doesn't get said enough, but we are.
Yes.
We truly are. So
that I stand for my page, and if you're needing help or whatever, there are some things that I'm working towards to get the help for people that they need.
Yeah.
I'm getting some communications with people. I'm actually looking at a facility, hopefully, that I can base out of. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of plans that I have to further get this out there to help people. It's a phenomenal thing that to learn how serious what this is.
Yes.
And people don't see how serious it is.
That's
so look at the world and the criticism. There's people that get criticized because they say, "Oh, I got PTSD." That's not a real thing. Yes, it is.
Yes,
it's
very real.
Well, again, thank you so much, Ron, for being on with us. We've got to close our show out, but it has been wonderful hearing all this, and
we're going to have you back on.
Yeah, we will have you back on, definitely.
Because we'll have to know what else you've got going on and what you're doing and what you've done.
And how it's going, yeah. So for those that are watching us tonight, thank you so much. We would like to thank our sponsor, Enigmatic Anomalies. And please reach out to us at our email address, which is hauntedparis@usa.com. And you can also watch us on our YouTube channel at ea-tv.com.
Or just find us out on the street.
Yeah. Oh, thank you
Ron
again
Paris.
to Ron. What a blessing. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank
So
you
nice
so
having
much.
you on.
We
God
love
bless
you.
you. We'll see you again.